Today, I want to speak to the dreamer inside you, the fighter, the version of you who's been waiting for permission, for motivation, for a perfect moment. Let me tell you this: laziness may seem harmless, but it slowly destroys the most beautiful gift you have, your purpose. And if you don't destroy laziness, it will quietly destroy the life you were meant to live. So let's talk about how we rise, how we fight, how we reclaim our strength. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Laziness is not rest, it's resistance to growth. This truth may be hard to accept, but it is necessary. Often we confuse laziness with rest. We convince ourselves that we're simply tired, that we deserve a break, that we're just waiting for the right time. But deep down we know the difference. Rest renews you. Laziness drains you. Rest brings clarity and peace. Laziness brings guilt and regret. Rest is intentional. Laziness is avoidance. And when we avoid doing what we were meant to do, when we delay our purpose, we start resisting the very process that was designed to help us grow. You see, growth is never easy. It demands sacrifice. It calls you out of your comfort zone and challenges every excuse you've ever made. Laziness, on the other hand, is the subtle enemy that makes excuses look like reasons. It whispers, "You have time," when in truth, time is slipping through your fingers. It says just one more hour when that hour could be the one that changes your life. It convinces you that starting tomorrow is better, but tomorrow is built on the choices you make today. Laziness tells you it's okay to wait, while growth is screaming that it's time to move. When you give in to laziness, you are not choosing rest, you are rejecting your own potential. You are closing the door on who you could become. Imagine a seed refusing to break open because it doesn't want to face the dirt. That's what we do when we let laziness win. We resist the discomfort of growth, not realizing that in that discomfort lies our transformation. The pain of pushing forward, of working when it's hard, of showing up when no one is watching, that pain births progress. Laziness tries to protect you from the pain, but in doing so, it also protects you from becoming great. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for motivation, waiting for energy, waiting for the perfect moment. But what if that moment never comes? What if the truth is the perfect moment is a lie we believe to protect ourselves from the fear of failure? Laziness isn't just physical stillness, it's mental resistance. It's the heaviness you feel when you know what you should be doing but choose not to. And that choice becomes a habit, that habit becomes a lifestyle. Before you know it, years have passed and you're still in the same place, not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't fight the resistance. Laziness makes us prisoners of our own comfort. It builds invisible walls around us. It gives us short-term ease but long-term emptiness. There's nothing more painful than realizing that you were the one who stood in your own way. And that's what laziness does. It slowly convinces you to stop trying, to settle, to shrink. It distracts you from your calling. It keeps you busy with nothingness. It gives you just enough comfort to survive, but robs you of the fire to thrive. And sometimes, laziness hides behind perfectionism. We tell ourselves we're waiting to do it right, waiting until we're ready. But deep inside, we're just scared. Scared of not being good enough, scared of failing, scared of trying and not being seen, and so we do nothing. We tell ourselves we're thinking, preparing, planning, but we're not moving. And motion is what creates momentum. Momentum is what creates change. Without movement, nothing happens. Without action, even the greatest ideas die in silence. Laziness is subtle. It doesn't always look like lying in bed. Sometimes it's scrolling endlessly, procrastinating, overthinking, or avoiding decisions. It looks like postponing your dreams, one small moment at a time, and each delay takes you further away from the life you were meant to live. Comfort zones are beautiful, but nothing ever grows there. They feel warm, familiar, and safe. Inside them, there is no pressure to perform, no risk of failure, no fear of rejection. Everything is predictable, everything is manageable. But what we often fail to realize is that comfort zones, while cozy, are also cages. They limit us quietly and consistently. They don't shout or warn us, they just gently lull us into a life of mediocrity. And the danger of mediocrity is that it doesn't feel painful at first. It feels easy. It feels convenient. But over time, it becomes unbearable because deep inside, we were not created to stay the same. Growth demands discomfort. The greatest lessons are learned in the moments when we are stretched, challenged, and tested. It's in those uncomfortable spaces where transformation happens. But many people avoid those spaces because they come with fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. So they stay inside their comfort zones, convincing themselves they are being wise or patient, when in reality they are being afraid. And fear, when left unchecked, becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a prison that disguises itself as protection. When you live in your comfort zone, your dreams start to feel too far away, not because they are, but because you've stopped reaching, you've stopped risking, you've stopped believing that discomfort is worth it. You begin to settle for what's easy instead of fighting for what's meaningful. And the longer you stay in that space, the more your confidence fades. You begin to question whether you're even capable of more. But the truth is, your comfort zone has nothing to do with your ability. It has everything to do with your willingness. Willingness to try, willingness to fail, willingness to stand up again and again, even when it hurts. The most powerful version of you will never be found in the space where everything is certain. It will be found in the space where you feel uncertain but keep going anyway, where your hands shake but you keep building, where your voice trembles but you keep speaking. That is where growth happens, in the raw, unfiltered moments, where you're forced to confront the truth of who you are and who you're becoming. We often admire people who are bold, courageous, and successful, but we rarely acknowledge what they had to leave behind to get there. They had to leave behind comfort. They had to walk away from ease. They had to take the first step when no one clapped, when no one saw, when no one believed. They had to be their own source of courage. And every time they chose growth over comfort, they expanded, not just in skill, but in strength, in character, in resilience. Now, there's nothing wrong with resting. There's nothing wrong with pausing. But when resting turns into hiding, and pausing turns into quitting, you must stop and ask yourself, am I really safe in my comfort zone, or am I just stuck? Because there is a difference between being at peace and being paralyzed. Peace empowers you, paralysis holds you hostage. Comfort, when misused, can become the very thing that keeps you from walking into the life you were meant to live. We live in a world that praises perfection and punishes vulnerability. That's why comfort zones feel attractive. They protect us from being seen as weak or flawed. But growth doesn't happen in perfection. It happens in the messy, uncertain, awkward beginnings. The moments when you step out even when you're unsure. The moments when you move forward even though the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's where the magic lives. Not in knowing, but in trying. Not in ease, but in effort. Comfort zones might keep you from pain, but they also keep you from purpose. Excuses are lies we tell ourselves to protect our fears. They sound reasonable, they feel comforting, and they make perfect sense in the moment. But underneath every excuse is a truth we are avoiding. Excuses allow us to postpone action without feeling guilty. They give us a temporary escape from the discomfort of effort, responsibility, or risk. But that escape comes at a price. Our growth, our dreams, and our potential. When we make excuses, we are not protecting ourselves, we are sabotaging ourselves. We say things like, I don't have time, when what we really mean is, I'm afraid I won't succeed. We say, I'm too tired, when deep down we're overwhelmed by the fear of starting. We say, I'll do it tomorrow because we don't feel ready today. And the cycle continues. Day after day, we feed ourselves these small lies, and with each one, we delay our breakthrough. We create a false reality where we are the victim of circumstance instead of the author of our own story. Excuses shift the blame away from us, so we don't have to face the uncomfortable truth that we are choosing not to grow. Fear wears many masks. Sometimes it looks like procrastination, Other times it looks like perfectionism, but one of its most convincing disguises is the excuse. Because excuses are not always loud. Sometimes they are soft and subtle. They come in the form of logic disguised as wisdom. They convince us that we are being patient, that we are waiting for the right moment, that we are playing it safe. But in reality, we are allowing fear to win. And when fear wins, our future loses. The truth is, no one ever achieved greatness by making excuses. No one ever reached their highest potential by waiting for everything to be perfect. Growth requires courage. And courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Excuses keep us from making that decision. They paralyze us in a state of constant hesitation, where we talk about what we want but never take the steps to pursue it. We become masters of planning but avoid the doing. We become experts at dreaming but struggle to act. Every time you tell yourself an excuse, you reinforce a belief that you can't. You strengthen the voice inside you that says you're not ready or you're not enough, and the more you listen to that voice, the more it becomes your reality. But the voice of truth is still there. It's quieter, but it's stronger. It says, start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. It's the voice that knows your potential and calls you to rise above your fears, but you can't hear it clearly if your ears are filled with excuses. There's power in taking responsibility. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming your power. When you stop making excuses, you start making progress. You begin to see that it was never about time or energy or circumstances, it was about choice. Your choices shape your life, and every time you choose action over excuse, you rewrite your story. You prove to yourself that fear doesn't have the final say. You start to live with intention instead of hesitation. Excuses are comfortable, but comfort never created change. They might shield you from temporary discomfort, but they will cost you long-term fulfillment. The challenge is not to eliminate fear, but to stop feeding it with lies. You must confront your excuses, name them and break them. You must ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? And is that fear worth the life I'm sacrificing? Because every time you say I can't, when you really mean I won't, you give away a piece of your potential. And over time, those pieces add up until there's nothing left but regret. Your dreams are valid, but they require your discipline. Every person carries within them a dream, a vision, a purpose that was placed in their heart for a reason. These dreams are not accidents, they are not illusions. They are reflections of your potential, echoes of what your life can become if you choose to walk in alignment with your calling. But dreams, no matter how beautiful or powerful, will remain only dreams if they are not met with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between what you see in your mind and what you experience in your reality. It's easy to be inspired, it's easy to feel passionate when you're surrounded by motivation, when the environment is right, when the energy is high. But dreams don't manifest in moments of hype, they grow in moments of consistency. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It's working on your goals when distractions are louder than your purpose. It's choosing progress over comfort, action over excuses, responsibility over laziness. Your dream is the seed, but discipline is the water. Without it, nothing grows. Many people give up on their dreams not because they lack ability, but because they lack discipline. They start strong, full of excitement and vision. But as the journey gets harder and the results come slower, they retreat. Discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation runs out. It is the inner voice that reminds you why you started in the first place. It is the quiet strength that helps you show up for your future even when your present feels uncertain. Without discipline, even the most gifted individual will remain stuck. Discipline is not just about routines and schedules, it is a mindset. It is the ability to say no to what is easy so you can say yes to what is meaningful. It is the power to delay gratification, to sacrifice temporary pleasure for lasting purpose. It is training your body, your mind, and your emotions to align with your highest vision. Because every time you choose discipline, you are choosing your dream. Every time you commit to the process, you are taking a step closer to the life you were meant to live. People often look at successful individuals and see the result, not the discipline behind it. They see the achievement, the spotlight, the applause, but they don't see the early mornings, the countless failures, the silent nights of hard work when no one was watching. Success is not luck. It is not magic. It is discipline repeated over time. It is making the hard choice again and again until it becomes who you are. Discipline transforms potential into power. It gives shape to your passion. It gives direction to your drive. The truth is, your dream will test you. It will challenge your patience, your focus, your resilience. It will require you to fight against the urge to quit, to keep going when progress feels invisible. And that's when discipline becomes your greatest ally. Not because it makes things easier, but because it makes you stronger. Dreams without discipline lead to frustration. But dreams with discipline lead to fulfillment. You must be willing to do what is hard now so that you can live what is beautiful later. There will always be reasons to postpone, to pause, to wait until you feel ready. But discipline doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates momentum in the middle of chaos. It pushes forward when everything says stop. It doesn't need applause, validation, or recognition. It simply needs a decision to believe that your dream is worth the cost, because it will cost you. It will cost you time, energy, comfort, and sometimes even people. But the reward is growth. The reward is alignment. The reward is becoming the version of yourself who doesn't just dream, but lives the dream. Progress begins the moment you choose discomfort over regret. It is not in the planning or the dreaming, but in the doing, in the uncomfortable, uncertain action that growth starts to take shape. Discomfort is the birthplace of progress. It stretches you, molds you, and introduces you to parts of yourself that comfort will never reveal. When you step into discomfort, you confront your fears, you challenge your limitations, and you begin to rise beyond what you once believed was possible. Most people wait for clarity, for confidence, for courage, but none of these come before action. They are built inside the discomfort. Regret, on the other hand, is the pain that follows inaction. It is the weight you carry when you realize that you were capable but unwilling. It is the silent ache that comes from knowing you had the opportunity but chose ease instead. Regret does not come from failing, it comes from never trying. It comes from staying silent when you should have spoken, from holding back when you should have moved, from shrinking when you were meant to expand. Discomfort lasts a moment, but regret can echo for a lifetime. We all face a choice: endure the temporary discomfort of growth or suffer the lasting burden of unfulfilled potential. Discomfort will test you, but regret will haunt you. Discomfort might make you cry, sweat, stumble, and even fall, but it will never leave you empty. Every moment you choose the harder path, the uncertain road, the inconvenient step, you are investing in your future self. Progress is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is waking up 5 minutes earlier. Sometimes it is saying no to an old habit. Sometimes it is showing up when your heart feels heavy. But each small act of courage adds up. The world often teaches us to seek pleasure, to chase ease, to avoid pain. But the ones who change their lives are the ones who understand that not all pain is bad. Some pain is purposeful. Some discomfort is divine. It shakes you out of stagnancy. It demands that you pay attention. It awakens the part of you that has been sleeping under the illusion of safety. Safety can become a silent killer of dreams. What feels safe is not always right. What feels familiar is not always true. And what feels easy is not always good. Discomfort is the sign that you're on the edge of transformation. It's the resistance that shows you are doing something different. It's the inner conflict that reveals you are breaking old patterns. And yes, it feels messy, it feels vulnerable, it feels risky, but that's where the change begins. That's where the breakthrough lives. No one ever created a new life by repeating the old one. To move forward, something must shift. Something must stretch. Something must surrender. You cannot wait for the fear to disappear. You cannot wait for the conditions to be ideal. You must choose to act, even when your voice trembles and your hands shake. The discomfort you feel today will become the strength you stand on tomorrow. The more you face discomfort, the less power it holds over you. It becomes a tool, not a threat, a signal, not a stop sign. It tells you that you are alive, that you are trying, that you are daring to grow. There is a kind of beauty that lives on the other side of discomfort, a clarity, a confidence, a strength you didn't know you had. But you will never meet that version of yourself if you choose regret. Regret keeps you tethered to the past. Discomfort propels you into your future. Regret makes you wonder what could have been. Discomfort teaches you what can still be. You are always one decision away from progress, one choice to lean into the tension, to stay a little longer, to push a little harder, to believe a little deeper. You were not born to be ordinary. You were born to rise. Inside you lies a fire, a calling, a purpose far greater than what the world often allows you to see. The ordinary path is easy to follow. It's predictable. It's comfortable. It's what most people choose because it requires less effort, less risk, and less responsibility. But inside the heart of every individual is the potential to live an extraordinary life, to do the impossible, to create, to innovate, and that is where your real power lies. Your purpose was never meant to fit inside the box the world tried to place you in. We live in a society that often defines success by external achievements, the house, the car, the job title, the status. But these are not the markers of a life well lived. A true extraordinary life is defined by the courage to follow the path that only you can walk. It's about fulfilling your purpose, not meeting someone else's expectations. It's about choosing authenticity over approval, growth over comfort, and passion over convenience. Ordinary lives are built on the belief that everything has to be done according to a certain standard. But extraordinary lives are built on the belief that the only standard that matters is the one you create for yourself. You are not meant to follow someone else's blueprint. You are meant to carve out your own. To rise above the ordinary, you must first understand that greatness is not a destination but a journey. It's not a single moment when you achieve your goal and then stop. It's a continuous evolution, a commitment to always becoming the best version of yourself. Ordinary lives are made by playing it safe, by holding back, by waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. Extraordinary lives are made by taking ownership, by stepping into the unknown, by believing that the world will make room for your uniqueness. The moment you decide that you are worthy of greatness is the moment you start rising. Rising above the ordinary requires courage. It requires the willingness to stand out, to be different, and to be misunderstood. It requires the willingness to fail, to get back up, and to try again. Extraordinary people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who refuse to stay down. They are the ones who take the lessons from their failures and use them as stepping stones toward their success. Failure is a necessary part of the journey because it teaches you what works and what doesn't. It builds your resilience, it sharpens your focus, and it reminds you that you are capable of far more than you realize. The world will try to convince you that being ordinary is enough. It will tell you that if you just blend in, if you just keep your head down, if you just do what everyone else is doing, you'll be okay. But being okay is not why you're here. You were created for greatness. You were created to contribute something unique, something that only you can offer to the world. But to do that, you must rise above the comfort of ordinary living. You must decide that your dreams are worth the effort, worth the sacrifice, worth the risk. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, every time you choose safety over courage, you choose the ordinary. Every time you silence your voice, hide your gifts, and shrink from the opportunities that come your way, you choose the ordinary. But every time you take a risk, every time you speak your truth, every time you step out of your comfort zone, you rise. You rise above the fear. You rise above the doubt. You rise above the limitations others place on you. And as you rise, you inspire others to do the same. The world doesn't need more ordinary. It needs more people who are willing to rise, who are willing to step into their power, who are willing to lead with purpose. You have the ability to change the world, not by conforming to it, but by being unapologetically yourself. You were born to rise, to stand tall, to live with purpose, and to impact lives in ways that only you can. When you rise, you not only change your own life, but you give others the permission to rise with you. As we stand at the crossroads of our journey, we are faced with a simple truth. The life you want to live will never be handed to you on a silver platter. It will demand your time, your energy, your effort, and most importantly, your commitment to the process of becoming. The road ahead will not always be easy, and there will be moments when you feel like giving up, when doubts creep in, and when fear tries to paralyze you. But in those moments, remember this: your greatest breakthroughs will never come from comfort. They will come from pushing beyond your limits, from stepping into the unknown, from daring to take risks when everything inside you tells you to hold back. Your dreams are not too big for you. The vision you have for your life is not out of reach. The obstacles that stand in your way are not permanent. They are opportunities for you to grow, to learn, to become stronger. And while the world may try to define success by what you have or how you appear, true success is not about the applause you receive. It's about the person you become in pursuit of your goals. It's about the courage to show up even when it feels impossible. It's about the resilience to keep moving forward when every step feels heavy. You are capable of far more than you realize. Inside you lies an unshakable power, an untapped potential, and a purpose that is waiting to be fully realized. The only thing that can stop you is the belief that you cannot. So today, I challenge you to stop making excuses, to stop waiting for the perfect moment, and to stop shrinking back in fear. The world needs your unique gifts, your voice, your passion. You were not born to live an ordinary life. You were born to rise, to lead, to change the world in your own extraordinary way. The journey is yours to take, and the power to change your life is in your hands. So rise above the fear, rise above the doubt, and rise above the limitations you've placed on yourself. Step into your greatness, take that first step, and never look back. You are unstoppable, you are worthy, and your best days are still ahead of you. Keep moving forward, keep fighting for your dreams, and remember, you were born to thrive.